Today I'm going to be talking to y'all about Hebrews chapter 3, and it tells a story throughout the entire chapter, so instead of reading the entire chapter, I'm just going to sum it up for you. But it starts out with King Nebuchadnezzar, and he builds this 90-foot high golden image, and people from all over, these officials and governors, start to come and worship and bow down to this image. And he hears word that these three Hebrew boys, these youths, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refuse to bow down to the image. And he becomes very angry, and he has them summoned before him. And he basically threatens them, saying, if you do not bow down to this image, then I'm going to have you thrown into a fire. And he asks them, what God can rescue you from my hand? And I love their response. They say that we have no need to defend ourselves. They say the God that we serve is able to save us, but even if he doesn't, we still refuse to bow down. We still won't bow down. And this makes King Nebuchadnezzar even more angry, as you can imagine. But he has the fire started. He has it heated up 7 times as much as usual, and he has his strongest soldiers throw these Hebrew boys into the fire. And the fire was so hot that the soldiers were burned and killed instantly when they threw them in. But the Hebrew boys, when they went in, it says that they fell down. But moments later, King Nebuchadnezzar stands up because he's astonished, because he says, I see 4 men walking around in the fire. And he says, didn't we throw 3 in? And they say, yes, we threw in 3. And he says, well, I see 4, and the 4 looks like the Son of God. And he asks the 3 Hebrew boys to come out, and they come out, and he says, the God that you serve, the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that's the God that I will serve, and that's the God that we will serve. And he ordered that everyone worship the one true God. And he said that if anything negative is spoken about God, then there will be punishments. And I love what he says next. But he says, no other God can save in this way. And how awesome is that? No other God can save in the way that our God can. But the message of this story, there's a bunch of things that you could get out of it, and that's why I'm going to post the link beside this in the description, so you can click on that and read it for yourself, and may God speak to you personally through it. But you notice how these Hebrew boys didn't bow down. The only ones that they weren't afraid to stand, to make a stand for what they believed in, and to stand for the God. And King Nebuchadnezzar even says it in the chapter. He says that he saw that, and they were willing to die, before bowing down to another God. And that speaks so much to people. And if you make that stand, don't compromise your convictions. Don't compromise when all this pressure is put on you, whether it be, with addictions or, the way that you look or anything like that. The world tries to tell you need to look this way or that way, and there's maybe negative friends that you're hanging out with or something like that. Things that you're trying to get, that the world's trying to pressure you into being a part of. But don't bow down. Don't give in, but make a stand for God, and that will make such a difference, but it will be noticed so much more. You think about how noticed it was when these 3 Hebrew boys, they didn't bow. It reached the king immediately. He had them summoned before him personally, because it was such a big deal, and it is a big deal, and people notice when in your life you don't bow down to the same things of this world. We are called to be separate. In Jeremiah 10, chapter 5, God is speaking to Israel about the world's worthless idols. And in this he says, like a scarecrow in a melon patch, their idols cannot speak. They must be carried because they cannot walk. Do not fear them. They can do no harm, nor can they do any good. And in Jeremiah 2, 5, he actually says that the people that follow these worthless idols, they become worthless themselves. And, these idols that the world worships, these idols that are put before us every day, they're worthless, they're powerless, they can do nothing. But our God is the only one that can save like he saves. Our God is the only one that is living. And I encourage you to worship that one true God today, and don't bow down to anything else, anyone else. But bow down to the one true God.